to keep myself on task. And what I will use to help keep myself on task is the colors once more. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Berean Standard Bible, which is a great public domain Bible, which means free to use, means I don't have to get permission from anybody to use it, which is awesome. But one of these days, hopefully, like I said, if I get good at this stuff, I get permission ahead of time, then I can use a bunch of different translations, which would be fantastic. But I really like what I'm seeing from the Berean Standard Bible these days. So do not be conformed. I am using Stephen Brown, Joy McCullum, Solid Rock Greek New Testament, which is essentially Robinson Pierpont's Byzantine priority text, which is different from the majority text and is different from the TR positions. Okay, so this is that position, just so you know. But I appreciate it because you can read the notes down. If you don't need me to read those notes down, I'll talk about them later. But they will be useful to us later. Okay, so it says, and do not be conformed. This is going to be the one textual variant that we'll see today. There's maybe one more, but so we have this same word. There's your and. Okay, that's what this is here. There's your do not. Again, go to Center for the Study of New Testament Manuscripts.org, csntm.org is what it is, and look up P46. And I've tried to hand copy this so that my handwriting here hopefully looks like what it looks like on csntm.org. And it's the best I can do without having to pay to use pictures and stuff. I asked them, I was like, am I allowed to hand copy that? They're like, yeah, you're allowed to hand copy that. I said, thank you. So, here is this, and it is the don't be conformed. Now, in Robinson Pierpont and in the Solid Rock Greek New Testament, they opt for a Byzantine priority reading, and in the Byzantine manuscripts, you don't have an imperative with the esthe, you have an infinitive with the esthi. Is how that would, I think I'm saying that right. Este might be este if I'm going with modern Greek pronunciation. Esthai for all you American seminary students. So suschematizes the in P46, which is an extremely early reading. And since I started right off with it, let's talk about what's there. We already talked about this textual variant in verse 1. Do we say pleasing to God or to God pleasing? And the answer to that question for English translation is you say it in English, which is pleasing to God. In Greek, it doesn't matter which way you put the words. Sometimes for emphasis it matters, but almost you can switch up the order of your words as long as you decline them or basically spell them correctly. But here's what we have. Robinson Pierpont and my brother-in-law and his Byzantine priority people opt for the esthai readings to these. Do not both the thigh here and the thigh here, but you also see that we have esthe, usthe here in the in P46. And so it doesn't, it's an infinitive versus a imperative. So what you have, and my brother-in-law can correct me on this if he wants, but essentially it doesn't affect translation because you're still going to say, don't be and not be transformed, but be don't be conformed to this present age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You'd still translate it that way, but the infinitive would make don't be conformed but be transformed subordinate under the idea of present your body a living sacrifice. There was the imperative, and then this is not to be this but to be this. And so that's just a Greek thing though, and it helps us with where the idea is subordinated, but you still translate it don't be conformed, but be transformed. I suppose you could say, and not to be present your body as a living sacrifice, holy acceptable to God, which is your reasonable worship, and then and to not be, giving further reasons of how, or ways in which you are supposed to present. Whereas if you just have the ending in esta, it's like starting a new command. So that was a lot. But again, if you are so nerding out that you're wanting to go learn the Greek alphabet and the obscure P46 from the 1st century, you're probably okay with me saying all of these things. So next. To this world. This is not your average word for world. I'll go green with the world. So we have to this world, to this present age, and there's the toe that we had. Solar Greek New Testament. There's your Aeoni, and then tuto. Now you'll notice this, to this world. Or like the idea of this present age. It's aionion is the word for age in Greek. But you'll notice here, if you are looking at CSNTM, I tried to represent accurately how this, typically you would write the omega like this, and it kind of is faded off there. One thing to keep in mind with papyri, I forget if I talked about this in the last video, but papyri, they have these strands that they've woven together like this. So we're not writing on a smooth computer screen or a smooth piece of paper. You're writing on something that's a little bit jaggedy. And so to have letters that actually look halfway decent on paper, you actually have to have some skill as a scribe to do that. So I've tried to make this look, but hopefully you'll be able to look at P46 and then look at what I've done here. Maybe have 2 windows up and you'll be able to see what I'm saying. Okay, let's go to the word. We'll throw but be transformed all together. I've already done some of that. We'll do blue. But be transformed. Where do we get that in the Greek? This is the word for but, and this is the word for be transformed. Again, the infinitive, if you're of the Byzantine priority persuasion, but be transformed. But the esthe. This is another thing. I almost thought this was an omicron whenever I first was looking at P46 right here, but it is to the side, and it's not. Oh man, I hate when I do that. How do I go back? Can I go backwards? It's not going to let me go backwards, folks. Anyway, it's not a completed thing there. Is it going to let me do anything at all? Oh, goodness gracious. Pause. All right, let's continue here. We made it back. Goodness. Okay. So all that to say, that's a sigma, even though it looks like a omicron that got chopped in half. It's a sigma. So don't be transformed. Let me talk about the textual variant in case these ideas of variance scare you. Here's another one where it's like doesn't really affect anything. And this will surprise you as to who says what as well. So again, Byzantine priority ends this in usthai and esthai. However, both the text for the TR and the text for Nestle Aland and the NIV text and the Society of Biblical Literature all, so we're talking Scrivener's TR and the baseline text for the NIV, yet again agree, just like they did up here, TR agreeing with the NIV up here. But here, Robinson Pierpont and the Byzantine priority position, focusing more on the infinitive reading. So in a particular family of manuscripts, you have a lot of readings that translate this as a to be instead of you be this. And again, it doesn't affect actually how you translate it into English. But these are the things that people, when they actually go and look at the Greek manuscripts, that's what they're seeing. And so what decision are you going to make based on that? So it's neat to look at, but it doesn't affect anything so far as the authority of Scripture. So already I've talked about 4 manuscripts, 4 variants in 2 verses, and The thing is, though, it doesn't affect how you say any of it in English. So it's actually pretty incredible, the clarity that we have throughout the various manuscripts. Okay, so now that you know that, I will move on. Let's continue here. By the renewing of your mind. This is going to end up longer than last time. I said it was going to be shorter. Let's go quicker here. By the renewing of your mind. I'll throw that all together. Here is the renewing. And then this is of the mind, yours. Okay, interesting. So one other variant here is that your is seen both in the Byzantine priority and the TR positions, but not in Westcott, Hort, Nestle Aland, and NIV Society of Biblical Literature. The renewing of the mind, or the renewing of your mind. It's interesting. In Spanish, this wouldn't affect translation whatsoever, because you could say tu mente, but en la mente is how they would say, I want you to think about this in your mind. I'd say, think about this in the mind. And so it's interesting. And for some languages, this variant would not carry over. You wouldn't be able to show it. Unless you were doing like overkill specificity or something. I suppose you could say it in directly like that in Spanish, but it would be more natural to say in the mind, even if it did say in your mind, all of your mind. So that's interesting. So some manuscripts have be renewed in the mind, and some have be renewed in your mind. Again, does that affect any major doctrine? Let's see. No. All right. Okay, let me change my colors as well. There's the renewing, there's your article, and there's the noos. Okay. Then you will be able to test and approve. Okay, so this is more of a dynamic idea here. They say, then you will be able to test. Okay, they've brought this together here. That's an interesting thing to do. I like to go a bit more, I don't like to use as many words, I guess, in trying to carry an idea across. For the toward, literally this looks like toward the testing, toward its testing. And here you have that. I mean, just, again, not even the same manuscript family, but reading exactly the same, spelled the same. And no major manuscript families really having any variants there, but and down to the spelling even, and first century manuscript, just incredible. And then that which is the good. So this is, okay, I'll use purple here. What is the good? And so now they put will of God first in Greek, and so I'll come back to that. I'll actually show you where will of God comes up. But here's the good. So this is the good, and this is, go yellow, pleasing. Here's your word for and pleasing, and pleasing. And then we'll go to and perfect. I'll go red again. And perfect. And if you look in P46, it starts to get really messy here. And the guy's like trying to finish. I don't know if that part of the papyri was particularly bumpy, or if this is just the stretching and the things that have taken place over time. But that is what the letters generally look like if you look at P46 on CSNTM. And here's and perfect as well up here. And then I'll do the Galaxy Pen for the will of God. Here's where will of God appears in the Solid Rock Greek New Testament. And then here is the thelemat, if you can see that clearly there. There's your theta, eta, lambda, okay, thelemat. And then there is your there is your theou. Now, so we have thelema there, but then the omicron ypsilon here is faded out. So I made a note of that, just like I made the note of the faded tuto up here as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hopefully that if you're interested in this, again, you can look at the actual manuscript. Hopefully you're able to see the one-for-one letters that come across, even though the typesetting is different. Let me know if that is clear enough for you to tell, for example, that that this is an alpha here in Ione, and this is an alpha here. I think that's fairly easy to follow. If not, I may make a video of saying like, okay, here's the alpha, here's how P46 writes alpha, here's how P46 writes their beta, here's how their P46 writes their zeta, things like that. I'm trying to work on my modern Greek pronunciation as well, because I want to sound Greek, even though I don't know what Guinea Greek sounded like. I want to have something that doesn't sound like American English and yet Greekish as well. I'm kind of done with the Rasmian, so moving away from that. Longer than I intended, but I really enjoy myself doing this, so I hope you do as well. We will see you in the next one.